Hello and welcome to part 12 of Meet the Horses. In tonight's video, I have who I would consider to be the barn mascot. So let me introduce you. Okay, this gorgeous little gal is Muffin. And this is Lila. Hi, Lila. As you can see, Muffin and Lila are pretty much equally as hairy. I distinctly recall a few years ago measuring Muffin's beard. Look at the amount of hair that she is rocking. Yes, you. Look at that hair. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to talk about this first thing because I think it's really important. So the reason Muffin has such a long coat, you can see all the hair on her belly. She didn't always have a long coat. It is winter, or we're coming out of winter, so she just started shedding. And she does get pretty slick still in the summer. But this long coat on any horse or pony or mule is the first thing I think that is a good indicator that they have what's called Cushing's disease or PPID. And it's a pituitary gland issue. I'm not even going to try to explain it all. I think it's best just if you want to know more about Cushing's disease that you Google it. So it's really important if you notice your horse's coat getting shaggy, definitely have them tested for it. It is treatable. Muffin's been on meds for probably about 4 or 5 years now. I'd say 5 years now she's been on medication. It can be a little pricey, but definitely worth it because it makes them feel so good. So very, very treatable. Isn't she just adorable? She's like, I'm just going to hang out here. I don't need to go anywhere or do anything. I'm totally content just hanging out. Now, Muffin, if you've been to my barn or if you've been watching my videos for any period of time, you know that Muffin is a very important part of my program. And you can see her tail. You see how her tail is a little bit short there? If you haven't seen in my other videos, I always cut their tails back, sometimes up to their hocks, but usually between the fetlock and the hock. So that would be like right here, so halfway up there. I'll cut their tails because of the mud. I don't like when their tails get full of mud because it kind of works as like a wick and draws the mud, moisture, and everything up their tail. And then if the weather's freezing, they end up with frozen ice balls. So it's just, I feel healthier for my horses, better for my horses if their tails are cut. So a lot of people ask me about that. And then by summertime, their tails grow back so nice. And I just think it gives them a lot of relief in the spring and fall and winter. Muffin is very, 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 very special. She's a very important part of my program. And Muffin has a great story. So Muffin was born, we don't know her exact birth date. She didn't have papers when I got her or anything. So it was always just kind of a guess. So when you get a horse that's kind of been passed around a little bit, information kind of changes. But we are guessing that her birth date was in 2000. So that makes her 24 this year. Muffin and I go way back, way, way back. And we're going to go back to 2006, 2007. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 2006. So I was working at a barn, and I was training horses for the public and giving lessons. And I get a call from a gal who was a referral looking for a trainer. So she says, I have this pony for my granddaughter, and she's not working out. And I asked a little bit, about what's going on and stuff. And she said that her granddaughter kept getting bucked off the pony, and she's scared now. And so asked if I would take the pony for training. So I said, sure, Gosh, I've always had a soft spot for ponies, so I was actually really excited. So I remember this conversation perfectly. I remember the day the gal called me, and I went to pick up the pony, and I won't forget that either because the driveway was like a little bit windy, and I didn't really know where I was going, and I had this big stock trailer. And so I get there, and Muffin is, she's cute as can be. Like, could she be any more adorable? She's just the cutest. Hello. Hello. Aw. So I get Muffin and put her in the trailer, and she got right in perfectly. And then I took her back to the barn that I was working at, and I think I put 2 months of training on Muffin. And during that time, when I take horses for training, I always like the clients to come and ride them and learn what I've been doing with the horse. And so they brought the little girl out, and I gave her some lessons on Muffin, and she was really nervous. But, I absolutely don't blame her whatsoever because, she had bad experiences with this pony. She'd get on her, and Muffin would dump her off. And that's just kind of like... It's hard because you take a young rider or a beginner of any sort, and then you put them, pair them up with a horse or pony that doesn't really know much, and then you take, it a step further, and it be a pony that doesn't put up with stuff, and it doesn't work. So, and that's kind of how ponies end up with getting a bad name. And I am an ambassador for ponies. I will stand up for a pony every which way. I love ponies, and the way that I look at it is ponies get a bad name because ponies are trained by children. And what I mean by that is, what do you expect when they're trained by children? Like, ponies, I think they get the short end of the stick a lot because they're smaller, so a lot of adults can't ride them. Fortunately, like, I'm small enough that I can ride. I've got a hand. There's very few. I can't ride the minis and the Shetlands. I did get on one Shetland once because he really needed it. But for the most part, like all my Welshes, I can get on them, and I can work through things. And that's really important in some situations. So, but the best thing is the better the rider, the better training the horse is going to have. So that's why ponies so frequently, get the whole label as being naughty, is because they just really haven't had very good training. The more riding experience a kid has, the better trainer they're going to be. So the best thing that you can do, if you've got a kid that loves horses and wants to ride, the best thing that you can do for the entire industry, for horses everywhere, is get your kid some education with riding, okay? Get them some good horsemanship lessons and teach them, because there's a good chance, if you've got a kid that loves horses, there's a good chance that they're going to ride several horses in their life. The way that I look at it, because that's my specialty, is, I give lessons and train horses and work with kids. And I've worked with thousands of kids over the years. And that's the one thing that I am very, very passionate about, is not just teaching a rider how to ride this horse that's perfectly broke. I like to teach riders how to, okay, so we got to teach you the basics first, and we're going to put you on something that really understands what it's doing. But, once you get a good foundation for riding, I'm going to put you on the horses that don't have a very solid foundation yet. The ones that are just a little greener. I'm not going to put anybody on anything that isn't gentle enough, that isn't compatible. But I do feel like it's really important for riders to learn how to work through problems and how to help horses who are having some trouble. So with Muffin, I got cats. I got cats everywhere. So I'm giving this young gal lessons on her pony, and she was very nervous. I don't blame her a bit. She had every right to be. She had bad experiences with this pony. So, and I was doing my best to help the pony learn. This pony didn't know much at all. So, I mean, I had to really work on some very basic things with her and just expose her to a lot of different things. She is sensitive. She can be feisty. She's very athletic, and she's kind of a punchy little pony, okay? And, now she's 24, so it's a little different, now. But when she was younger, so she was like 7, 8 years old when I first met her. It takes years. It takes so many years and so much exposure to so many things for a horse to get a really good, solid foundation on them. It just does. And I don't care what anybody tells you, a horse that is 4 years old, 5 years old, and broke to death, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe because it means that horse was started so dang young on stuff. So I avoid that. Muffin and this young gal just didn't really jive. And in the meantime, my student, she had been riding her grandma's horse, and she was getting along really well that way. And so the 2 months is up, and it's time for Muffin to go home. And I was super sad. I'm like, I really like this pony. Hate to send her home, but so they get the pony home, and it's just not going to work out. It's really hard, especially for kids when you've had a bad experience with an animal, and trying to work through that. Okay. It just really is very tricky, especially without having your trainer right there, and it's hard. So sometimes the best thing that you can do is to sell them. Well, it wasn't too long after Muffin went home that I got a phone call from the owners saying that they've decided to sell Muffin and wondered if I wanted her because I had first dibs. And at that time, I wasn't in a position to be bringing on any more horses or ponies. And so I thank them very much for thinking of me, but it wasn't the right time. Hi, kitty. Miss Muffin. So a couple months goes by, and I get a call again, and they said, we are really struggling to sell this pony. A couple of different people have tried her out, taken her home for a little bit to make sure that they got to know her well, and she's just not working out for anybody. Do you want this pony? And I was like, oh man, I really do want this pony. But again, at the time, I was like, I don't know if it's the right decision. So I sat down and really crunched some numbers to say, is this a good business move for me? What is this pony going to be able to bring to my program that will make it worthwhile? Because when you have a business, you have to look at things very different than when you just have a horse for recreational purposes. So I had to really think about that. And so I did all sorts of calculating, and I figured that Muffin was a really good investment in my program. At the time, I only had a couple of lesson horses, and she was definitely worth bringing on. So I agreed, yes, I will take this pony. January 1st, 2008, Muffin became mine. And I told the people, I said, because they wanted to just give her to me. And I said, since you paid me for a couple months of training, I feel pretty guilty about that. I don't think I can just take this pony. So I said, but how about we trade for some lessons? So I'll take the pony, and then I'll give the young gal, her name is Carly, okay? I'll give Carly lessons in exchange. Well, they thought that was a great idea. So I don't remember how many lessons that we agreed on or anything like that. But what I did is I said, you know what? I'm going to give this little gal all of her lessons on Muffin. Now, this pony was not like a star lesson pony right off the bat. All right. She needed a lot of work, and she needed the right kind of riders, and she needed a lot of just hands-on training. So I had to put a lot of time into her to get her to where, she was going to be a safe mount for kids. When Carly started taking lessons on Muffin, it didn't take long. And the more Carly learned, the more Carly fell in love with this pony, okay? And she told me, she's like, I am so sad that I sold her. She is such a good pony. And I told her, I said, you know what? You can absolutely ride her forever. She's definitely a part of my program. She's not going anywhere, but you may ride her as long as you would like. Carly became one of my core students, like one of my barn rats. And she showed Muffin for years. She did so much with her. She trail rode her, you name it. Carly did all kinds of really cool stuff with this pony. And she helped with her finishing training, and it was just such a neat thing to watch. But the coolest part is years later, Carly started giving lessons. She became my assistant. And she started giving lessons on Muffin. And then she was telling her story to all these other kids and sharing her journey with Muffin and how she was once afraid of her and how far Muffin was able to come with some training. And it's awesome. It's so awesome to watch that whole full circle, to go from being little kid that's kind of terrified of a pony to learning, to gaining confidence, to going out and like being competitive and doing awesome things and having a ton of fun and even doing endurance rides, like just super cool things that she got to do with this pony. And then she became the teacher. And then she became the trainer. So now Carly moved all the way out to Washington and she started her own horse training business and lesson program. And I could not be more absolutely like proud. Like my heart is like bursting with pride over that kind of stuff. It's just awesome. Hey, honey. Hi, honey. Muffin has always loved the soccer ball. Now, we used to have a soccer cover for it, but it got ripped. But we played equine soccer for a long time. And Muffin is always like the star soccer player. Oh, and that cover's a little bit too big. She's like, no, I'm gonna trip over that. It's too big. She's yawning. Need a nap, Muffin? She says, it's late. Why are we out here this late? She is a Welsh pony quarter horse cross. I have been told that her mom was a little gray Welsh pony and her dad was a quarter horse. He was a reiner, from what I've been told. I don't remember. I think probably bay. I don't remember. Muffin is actually considered a dun because she does have, it's hard to tell right now since she, is really dirty and has a winter coat, but she does have a dorsal stripe, which is a dark stripe that goes down the back. So she's actually considered a dun, but she looks like a bay. Bay and dun are very similar in a lot of ways. So Muffin, gosh, she's just been, she's the go-to for everybody. She's the absolute go-to. Muffin has been shown in every class you can think of in a horse show. She loved barrel racing. Oh my gosh, she's fast. I do have some videos of her in my barrel racing playlist, or actually in her playlist. I've got a couple of barrel racing videos of her. She was also ridden by Danny the Horse Girl quite a bit. Danny has her own YouTube channel, and there's a lot of videos of Muffin on Danny's channel. Another big yawn. She's like, I'm just exhausted. It's so late. Now, can you hear that clicking? That's coming from Muffin's ankles. And she has done that her entire life. And people question that sometimes, and I'm like, she has literally done this for 15 years. So that is totally not harming her whatsoever. Come on. As long as I have had Muffin, as long as I have known this pony, she has never been lame a day in her life. And so that's just that clicking. That's just her. I mean, I click when I walk a lot too. It is what it is. But I know some people find it a bit alarming, but it's just what she does. I've had her checked out plenty of times and it doesn't seem to bother her. Hey, sweetheart. Nope. You're just a little clicky. That's all right. Muffin was originally owned by a rodeo stock contractor and was sold to someone in our area. And the folks who bought Muffin didn't know this, but she was pregnant. So they went out one day. They thought they just kind of had a chubby little pony. They went out one day and she had a baby and it looked just like her, I guess. I never saw it, but that's what I was told. And I guess she was a really good mom. I would love to have babies out of Muffin. She's the perfect size. She's been the perfect lesson horse. But with her having Cushing's disease, I definitely would never breed her because that's genetic. And now she's too, she's beyond that age. I would never consider it anyway because of her age. But so yeah, she's so perfect. But she's like 12 and a half hands, 800 pounds, 700 pounds. And she's just the perfect size. It's nice because smaller adults can ride her and kids of all sizes can ride her. And she's nice and hardy. Muffin is basically like a little celebrity in my barn. You know how little kids have their favorite little stuffed animal? Think of all the kids that have ridden Muffin who have their favorite little stuffed animal horse. I bet you there are hundreds of them that have been named Muffin over the years. Like, she is just such a, like, you see little kids, especially when they see her, like, their eyes light up. They just love her so much. She's a big horse at heart. So she would love to be a big horse, I think. She actually is very happy whenever she ends up with adults riding her because I think she likes the no nonsense part of it. She tolerates kids. She's really good about tolerating anybody, but she just really doesn't like nonsense. She's like, I'm so sensitive and I am so fancy. She's like, really? I would consider Muffin to be really quite serious. And so I feel like sometimes, when we're doing a birthday party or having lessons or something, she kind of, like, if she could roll her eyes at us, I think she would, because she's like, I have more important things to do. And she's like, why are we not going and doing something awesome? She's so good at what she does. She's such a good lesson pony. She is awesome because she's always had leadership. This is the type of pony that can give ponies bad names because if she doesn't have a strong leader there to tell her, no, that's not okay, she's just going to take over and do her own thing. Muffin would always get so annoyed when we'd be at a horse show or something and, her rider would get nervous because we're at a horse show and say they'd, when you're nervous, you just don't really realize what you're doing, but they would maybe grip up on their reins too much or something, and she gets so annoyed with that. I cannot tell you how many people she's just bucked off because she's like, stop it. Like, I don't want to deal with you. Get your act together and then, and then come talk to me. That's just kind of her personality. Like, she doesn't want to deal with the nonsense. She's like, okay, do it right or don't do it at all. Muffin is really good friends with Nika. She loves her. And there's another pony that's built very similar to her that she really likes as well, that they hang out together. She gets along good with Sally. She gets along good with everybody, and she keeps herself out of trouble. You know, when Muffin was a little younger, she would just do random hot laps around the field. Like, you'd look and everybody else is standing around eating, and there goes Muffin, and she's just doing a hot lap around the field. She's just super independent, and she has a ton of personality, and she always has. And I love that about her. And I love that she's just always kept that. And I've always wanted her to keep that. I didn't want her to lose her curiosity and her independence, because I think that's really great about her. She's really awesome. Now, I've had Nika for a very long time. Nika's 24, and I've had her for 23 of those 24 years. So I've had Nika the longest, but Muffin is my lesson horse that I've had the longest. So Nika is in my lesson program now, but Muffin has been in it longer. Nika was my personal horse for many years, but Muffin is definitely, she's definitely a favorite, and she's been around the longest. This gal knows her job. She's very special, very, very special. I don't know what I would do without her. Like, I owe so much to this horse for everything that she has given me and given to so many. Oh my gosh, this horse has taught thousands of kids how to ride. This pony has instilled that absolute love for horses in so many kids, and it makes me happy. So I'm really thankful that I get to share her with everyone. I'm so thankful that I ended up with her the way that I did, and that Carly could kind of resolve her feelings about this pony and then have that work out the way that it did. It's just really cool. It's so cool. I like when things work out like that. But well, I think that's all I have to say about Muffin. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.